Gentlemen, welcome back.
Gentleman.
Good day,
It
good
it
day.
always it always seems to be us three here, but I promise eventually we'll have another guest on there. I just have a very sporadic schedule, and you guys are the only ones that find time for me because you love me.
Got to set up the
Well,
right
also,
guest.
we have a lot of guests in us, so we gotta bring that forward,
Yeah, for real.
It,
Hey,
it takes a couple podcasts to get the full
So
guest
quirky. I'm
experience.
so quirky. I have multiple personalities.
yeah, that's what I was
So
gonna say.
quirky.
I'm bipolar, bro. Like it's a different me every time.
Yeah.
Oh, do you guys remember, did you have this in where you grew up, where at a certain age people just claim to be, oh, I'm just random.
Yeah. Oh God, dude. That's
I'm
It's
still.
just
so
random like
random,
that.
I'm just like so random and crazy. Jumps up in the air, makes a face.
right?
I swear every time.
Yeah.
Does a freeze frame like at the
Yeah.
end of the
Okay, if you
Breakfast
could
Club,
like physically do a real freeze frame, that'd be cool. Like jump in the air and just stop, and then you're just floating.
or where everybody else is still like going, you could just pause yourself.
Yeah.
Oh,
What
wow,
what
you are
movie?
random, but you also control physics.
I
Click.
think it's Fairly Odd Parents. It's
All
not a movie at all that I'm thinking about in my head.
right, what about
I,
Click? You ever seen that movie?
Yeah, with Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
yes,
Adam
indeed.
Sandler's dude. I know he's got a lot of corny, cheesy movies, but I love that motherfucker.
I
Oh,
went
who
to see
doesn't?
him
How do you
live,
not like him?
and
No, you didn't.
I did. I went to see
No.
him, David Spade, and basically all those guys travel as a group and do some comedy
Yeah.
specials called the Funny Guy specials.
Yeah. Who's the funniest one? Would you say that you saw?
Honestly, I really like David Spade.
I knew you were
I
gonna say that. How did I know you were gonna say that?
don't know why. I just feel like he's
Names.
very relatable.
Joe Dirt is legendary.
I'm gonna say something that's gonna break both of your hearts, and I'm gonna say it before you
You
even
don't. You're
answer
gonna say
that.
you don't like him,
I'd never seen Joe Dirt.
dude.
Oh,
There's a second one and it sucks, but like the first one is so good.
I've only seen, like, I remember seeing it at some point, but I don't remember.
What?
It's like a legendary movie where I grew up too, because I grew up
It
in this
is, bro.
backwoods,
It's so
racist
good.
ass, kick ass town, and everyone's like, Joe Dirt, man, that shit's
Oh, they
funny.
probably love it.
I never watched.
Yeah.
I had like a deep fucking vendetta against rednecks when I was growing up. I hated them. So like anything that rednecks thought was cool, I was like, fuck that. But now that I'm older, I fucking fish and I have a truck, and it seems I've assimilated by accident.
Yeah, you need to leave, Logan. You need to find your true self. This isn't
This is
you.
my true self. I don't do any hick ass shit. I'm not like out here making moonshine. Not that I wouldn't. That'd be kind of cool, but
It would be, you'd be the plug.
but no, I've I feel like they have a lot of shit figured out except for when it comes to intelligence. But when it comes to like self-sufficiency,
Yeah,
rednecks got it down. Like they hunt, they fish, they grow their own food. They got all that shit down. But then you like try to have any sort of a conversation with them, and it's kind of just like brain dead bullshit. You seen that left turn that fucking Dale took the other day? Oh wait, he died years ago. That's how I
Is that
feel.
actually a thing?
that's a Dale Earnhardt
Is
reference.
what actually a thing.
That's what you were doing, right?
Oh, when I was a kid, yeah, dude. Like it was like you were considered of high status if you got to go watch a NASCAR race in the area I grew
I've
up
been
in.
the one. I've
I
been
went
to
to a NASCAR
Daytona.
race not
Well,
because I
I
was
didn't
rich,
actually
but
go to Daytona.
because my grandpa and my grandmother they actually took me to see one. And I remember specifically I was playing Pokemon on my Game Boy the whole time. And my
Yeah.
grandfather, he like looked down at me and he was like, "You're not even paying attention, are you?" And I did this super genius Jedi mind trick where I just looked up at the fucking like leaderboard real quick
You were
and I
like,
said,
naming names.
yeah, and I started naming names and numbers, and I was like, "Yeah, I know exactly what's going on." And I just went right back to Pokemon. It's like, yeah. But I got to like meet one of the drivers, and he like signed one of my
That's
fucking
dope.
things, but I don't even remember who he was or anything.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember shit. I just don't. It's not that it wasn't like a defining moment in my childhood. The most defining part I remember was that there was about 3,000 shirtless rednecks smoking cigarettes and drinking Mountain Dew. That's not an
Heck
exaggeration.
yeah.
I don't think I won't judge a sport on its people who watch it. Like um
Yeah, because if
back
you did
to
that for MMA, it's just a bunch of, like, fucking drunk frat bros that wear
Oh
Affliction
yeah.
T-shirts. Like, "Yo, did you get
Yeah.
that newest Affliction T-shirt from 1998?" Still got mine. It's got about 20 bleach stains, some blood from the
Right.
Buffalo Wild Wings fight I was just in.
Didn't
"You
even
been to
wash
Buffalo
the
Wild
blood
Wings,
out.
bro?" Buffalo Wild Wings is sick, dude. I used to do coke in the bathroom, go out and try to fight guys at the bar. I'm banned from all of them.
From every single one.
Yeah, they see
Every
my
state.
picture around.
Yeah, you definitely. That's a solid point. You definitely cannot judge a sport based on its fans, which I feel like NASCAR gets an unfair rep for, because they're actually like one of the most forward-thinking
like-
companies. Like they've completely banned like all racist attire. They like have like a
Yeah,
bunch.
yeah.
They're like, I have to look up the list of things they just recently did.
Well, they just
They're very
finally had
progressive.
like their first black racer or something a couple years ago, right?
Yeah, and then
Or
he got a
something like
noose
that.
in his fucking.
Yeah, that was wild. I think his name's like what the hell's his name?
I don't know, dude. I don't fucking keep up with that shit.
Yeah, me either. I just remember hearing all about it. My dad used to, dude. My dad and brother love NASCAR. So when we went to Florida, like I never been to a race, but I got to go to like Daytona to the Speedway. It was pretty cool, like doing the tour and stuff, and like you get a ride around the track and stuff. But it just was not something that I was like ever into. So I was like, yeah, guys, this is great. Woo,
So
NASCAR.
I feel like it's really appealing for people who, one, really like cars, and two, it's more about the ceremony of getting together and watching the fight, or
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
talking about it. And I say the
Camaraderie
fight
of
because,
that, yeah.
yes,
It's kind of like
exactly.
WWE. That's how I was always with. When I was younger, it was always I would watch WWE like with my brother, right?
The WWE of the children age is the NASCAR of the adult age.
Right?
A weird topic, because like people that are like obsessed with cars are a weird breed. That's like the equivalent of like, let's say I've got Nike shoes on and you've got Adidas. I'm like, fucking Adidas, man, they ain't worth shit. Made across the world, fucking tear. I put one pair on one time, toe went right through the end. I only wear Nike, me. I don't do that. It's like Ford versus Toyota, yada yada yada. I have friends like that. When I got this Nissan truck, they literally messaged me on Snapchat and were like, "The fuck
It's a
is wrong
foreign
with you?
truck.
Like, why are you
Foreign.
getting some fucking shitty machine from Japan, buddy? You need to get that American made." He's like, "That's a waste of a truck. You shouldn't have got that. It's just gonna break down."
I know people like that.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't really get that. Like, being obsessed with cars is a weird thing to be obsessed. And the people that are like
I
that, they're like
agree.
sexually aroused by cars. Like, they will
Dude,
spend
yeah.
8+ hours a day just detailing their car and cleaning it, just to take it
Yeah.
out for a drive, and then hit a
And
pothole and bust their
I
tire.
feel like
Okay.
it can be worked into every situation with those guys too, because you could be like, "Hey man, long time no see. How you been?" And then they'll immediately start talking about how, "Oh, I had to replace the axle in my
Yeah.
truck. The cylinder blew, so I just rebuilt the whole fucking engine. Man, but it's been going okay." But
That's one of those things I've seen. It's like when you turn 30, every man when they turn 30 bases their personality on one of four things, and it's like cars,
Oh
grilling,
yeah, it sucks.
gardening, or whatever the fourth one was. But I
Yeah, I
think it
can't
was probably.
remember.
But
I hope
I
that
just
breaks the.
You-
I don't want to fall into that.
I
I'd
like
say,
grilling and growing shit.
yeah,
I just don't really care much for cars personally, but
I'd
it's
say
just
that the car thing too also goes like both ways because you gotta like respect somebody that has like a sick ass car from like an old car, right?
yeah, I
And
like old
that
cars
actually
more than newer
maintains
cars.
an old car because that's obviously way fucking harder than someone who just like, yeah, I just spent like $4,000 fixing my transmission on my truck that I blew up at the tractor pull. You know?
Tractor pull.
We have the
Do you
tractor
guys
pull
have
around
those?
here.
Yeah,
Oh,
we do.
there's
That's
a
funny,
bunch of
man.
them, bro. I mean, I like going to tractor pull. It's cool. It's fun.
Is it more about the ceremony, though, would you say? Or more about the trucks, or the tractors in this case?
I don't know.
The big
It's
thing
just
down here is
it's just
fucking.
so much money that people spend on that, bro. It's like, and then
But
your truck blows up from it, or your tractor like blows up from it, like you know what I'm saying?
That's like a
yeah, but
weird
you.
thing, though.
But I guess the ceremony, like if you do good, it's like a trophy kind of thing. So
Pardon me, sorry. I
Yeah,
meant you personally.
I got this fucking dildo trophy for blowing up my truck for the third time this year.
uh,
Fuck yeah, dude! I'm gonna grease this baby up and take her for a spin.
right?
I'm giving people shit, but it's cool.
Yeah,
I
no,
think you
I
shouldn't be
like doing it.
embarrassed
Yeah,
of any interest you have at all. Like, everyone should take their hobbies and their interests and share
dude, you know
these
how
and
many
be
people
passionate
probably talk
about it.
shit about us and what we do? Like, you know what
Dude,
I'm
I mean,
saying?
my hobbies are fucking anime and fishing and skateboarding. I'm not that much different than a
Right?
car guy.
We literally sit there and watch the
Well,
fights
and
and get
MMA.
our
Yeah.
screaming and shit, and we are the people who are like, we're getting drunk on Saturday, fucking
So,
screaming
and
at the
that's
fights.
That's kind of what made me think about it, is because 2 years ago I would have thought about, like, we watch the fights pretty well every
Every
Saturday.
Saturday, every single
Yeah.
Saturday I watch them. I think I've only missed one in the past 3 years.
Yes, exactly. So I am now on the boat where I do want to watch the fights every Saturday.
Griffin's actually excited. We like made you join
Yes.
this cult.
It's because this shit is a science, man. You are playing physical chess. You are sitting there and that's what most people think. They think MMA is just a bunch of brutes going out punching each other. These are really intelligent people, man. Really
That's what I thought
intelligent.
too. And so with that, like, I would have thought 2 years ago that you guys are just more aggressive NASCAR fans. Right? No offense.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
that's kind of the portrayal that is kind of put out by, not put out, but I guess kind of. But most headlines you see are going to be two MMA fighters like getting into a heated, like a pre match or pre
The
fight
yeah.
talk or something like that, and it's just like, I don't. I used to think to myself, yeah, that's not for me. I don't really understand it watching two guys fight. But when you actually, like, the way you described it, it's an
I
art. There's a
I think
reason
the
why
whole
martial arts is an art.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I think the whole thing of like also like this is for every sport though, I guess, is like once you actually start to like watch the sport and then you find like your favorite people in the sport and you get so hyped up when they're like performing well and shit or when they're actually like having a match or anything, right? So like that definitely adds
Well, it
to the
definitely
whole fun of it.
to speak to that, to like finding the person you kind of relate with and like their fighting style, yada yada yada. That is something I directly built from being a basketball fan because I find, unlike most people, they're like, "This is my team. I'll support this team,"
Oh
or
yeah,
on the
basketball
opposite
fans are
bandwagon.
crazy.
I like players, right? So I follow specific players. Whatever team they
Yeah,
go to, I will like watching them play. I'm not like, a
yeah,
diehard
yeah.
Nets fan, diehard Celtics fan. And so that directly was another great reason for me to transition to MMA full time. I still watch
Because no
basketball.
one's like on a team really.
Well, there's teams, but they're like,
Yeah,
but it's not
They can
a
be traded.
team-based
but
sport,
everybody's
you know?
solo.
So
Everybody's
like
like
there's
their
like
own
American
person.
Top Team. There's a bunch. Well, there's a bunch. So let's just not name all the fucking
Yeah,
different
yeah.
teams, but uh, that, like you're saying, you can find a fighter you like and you
Who's
can follow
on a
his whole
team that you
career.
hate? You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
there's great people like that, like on Dustin Poirier. I love Dustin Poirier. I hate 99% of the people in his camp. His camp is full of cocksuckers, honestly, but um that's just based on the portrayal they do, because a lot of these MMA guys, they create a character, a persona for the media. Like Colby Covington, God, man, I cannot stand Colby Covington. Colby
Oh
Covington,
god.
Aljamain Sterling are definitely in my top
Okay,
two most hated, and John Jones.
Aljamain fucking sucks balls. I slightly like John Jones,
Oh,
and only because of those kicks, bro. And I like those kicks. And then
yeah, but there's people that do those kicks better, and they don't beat their wife and do
yeah, I know
PEDs and
that's a
steroids.
big fucking problem about him.
So that's a whole another pocket to get into, is like your the people you like in sports. They're kind of, it's the same thing that happens when you like an actor and they turn out to be
A piece of shit. Yeah.
a piece of shit or a terrible person. But
Or
like,
when you like Drake and he turns out to be a pedophile.
Oh god. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
one of
still
Oh,
those
gonna listen to
situations.
Drake music.
this
Listen,
guy,
I
man.
get dude, I get this argument all the time because people, you guys know that I like love Michael Jackson. I have like Michael Jackson posters on my fucking wall and stuff. And then like I always get all this shit when I tell people that, and they're like, "Well, how can you like Michael Jackson when he fucking molests little boys?" And I'm like, "Well,
So that's where you have to
I
ask
don't
the
know,
question,
like,
can you separate the artist from the art and only respect
yeah,
the art?
exactly, right,
Can
yeah."
you? Can we
And that's sort of
respect R.
like,
Kelly's music even though he pissed and dungeoned little girls?
Um,
it
maybe,
all
probably not.
depends
I don't
about
know.
that level of separation and empathy, like the way you go into that scenario, the same way you go into watching a fight. Are you watching it for your major support for this fighter, or are you watching it for the actual clinical, like, and there, I feel like
There's
that's a big
both.
difference too. There's lots of people out there who will just die hard support a fighter no matter what. Like, they could
Nate
do some,
Diaz fans, Conor McGregor fans, two best
Oh
examples in
god.
the world, bro.
right, like they
Yes.
could go out and assault someone in like broad daylight, and they would still be like, "Yeah, but they fucking beat the shit out of him, didn't they?
Oh
Didn't they
yeah,
get a quick
literally
tap?"
did that.
absolutely.
McGregor literally did
Yeah,
that. He
he beat an
assaulted.
old man or whatever,
He
right?
punched an old man in the face in a bar. That guy took it like a champ. And not only that, he threw a fucking dolly through Habib's bus and like busted this dude's face open. All kinds of shit. And they used that to promote the fight. They literally used that
Yeah.
clip of him throwing the dolly through the bus to
Well, of
promote the
course
fight.
they would. Why would you not? I guess it's like, but it's this. You know, if we're gonna talk about this too, the whole John Jones thing about him still being in the Hall of Fame and like
This guy does not
that
deserve to be in the Hall of
that should
Fame.
not be allowed. You know,
Yeah,
kind of
not
thing.
okay. Excluding the fact that he beat his wife, which is horrible and is enough to should be enough to get you banned from the sport in the first place. Fuck that guy. He literally got caught cheating multiple times. He got caught using PEDs and
Yeah,
steroids multiple times. I think he used Tyranobol was the last one he used, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know. It's the same as baseball, though. They don't ban you out of the Hall of Fame just for
Yeah,
being a
Tyrannobol's a
steroid
steroid,
abuser.
literally steroid, and that's what he got caught using last time. This fucking
Wow.
guy. But yeah, so this guy and that's another thing to speak to because Daniel Cormier was on the losing side of that trilogy with John Jones, and John Jones tested positive for one of their fights. That's why they had to have a trilogy because
Yeah.
he literally tested positive for cocaine and steroids. He went and everyone that tries to tell me cocaine is not a performance enhancing drug has never done cocaine. If you've never done cocaine in your life, you give me a fucking line of cocaine, I will not be afraid to fight any motherfucker on this planet, bro. I will feel like God, and my body will not feel pain while it's happening. That's how cocaine works. It's a fucking hell of a drug. That's why people get addicted to it. So for people to be like, man, he's just partying. If you made millions of dollars and could fuck any girl in the world you wanted and beat any guy's ass, wouldn't you do cocaine? I'd be like, not if I wanted to preserve some form of legacy and fight fairly in a fucking tournament to prove I'm the strongest natural human being in the world. Or like most, I guess not strongest, but most technically talented in fighting. How would you baddest motherfucker? What would you call it? Greatest fighter?
Baddest motherfucker,
Like
the goat.
yeah,
Formidable. Well, guys in that scenario too, like guys in that position, will not meaning to think about. Like you kind of have to think about yourself as the greatest fighter, or else you stop getting motivated. Kind of, I would say.
yeah,
Not
definitely.
that.
100%.
Oh yeah, that's
No,
the same with everything. If
that's
you,
happened to people. They've
oh,
like
what's the? There's a line in it's a country song line, but he says like nobody wins afraid of losing, right? So if you're gonna like have fear and shit, then yeah, you're probably gonna get beat up. You see dudes walk into fights, like we talk about it all the time. If we see someone they look like they're scared, usually they
can
get beat
see
up.
it. You can see that shit. It exudes from them. You can watch a guy walk in and his like demeanor has just been suppressed, like he's been tapered, bro. And you feel
So
that shit when he's walking in. And that's another, Rose Namajunas, the girl when she walks and says, "I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best."
Yeah,
yes.
She's doing that because she has a severe problem with confidence, dude. She has had it her entire career. She'll go from literally head kicking and knocking out Wei Li Zhang, one of the greatest female fighters of all
to the
time,
shittiest fight of all
to the
time.
shittiest fight of all time with Carla Esparza, afraid to throw a strike. What was it? Combined less than 50 strikes the entire fight, 5-round fight. That's
Yeah,
like one of the
it's
lowest
garbage.
strike performances of all time.
That's yeah. That shows how much your mind has going into it, like how much weight it has.
Oh yeah,
That brings back like it in boxing. I used to watch quite a bit of boxing just for shits and gigs, but Mike Tyson in particular, there are 4 fights. I'm pretty sure, and probably more. I don't know how many technical knockouts he has, but the technical knockouts that he did have were one of them. I'm pretty sure was because the guy couldn't stand afterwards, like he kept on losing his balance. But the other one, the guys literally refused to get back into the ring with him. One of them in particular
I would.
was I'll look it up. Finland fighter. It was the
Finish.
number one. Yeah, the number one Finnish fighter, and basically it was only the second time he had not been knocked down in the Finnish fighter's career. Finnish.
Finish.
He was from Finland.
Yeah, finish.
Yeah, Finnish. It was the second time he had been knocked down, but after that second time he got knocked down, he did one more round with Mike, and then he refused to go back in the ring. And then it happened again with a Russian dude where he got rocked, and then the next like Next round, he refused to go back, and his coaches, everybody was like trying to convince him to like get back in there, and he literally walked out of the ring like being like, "No, no, I'm not fighting that guy. I'm not fighting him." But it's getting in the head of like that was a big part of Mike Tyson's fighting style. Is also once you
Yeah,
get into
he's
the
a
ring with him,
psychopath.
he looks like he's gonna disembowel you.
Here's something that not a lot of people really, when you speak on Mike Tyson, you hear the usual like, he's insane, you know, one of the best
Oh,
fighters in the world, this,
you're
this,
gonna
and that.
talk about what you just shared with
Uh,
us earlier. Who shared it with us? I've watched that clip before of him
Um,
talking about his daughter. Is that what you're gonna talk about?
yeah,
no, it
I
wasn't. That was Connor that shared that, but I wasn't
Ah,
going to bring that up. That is
yeah,
extremely sad. But what
he has a softer side.
people don't realize about Mike Tyson is he is incredibly intelligent. He's very methodically, what's the word I'm thinking of? Like he thinks everything through like so thoroughly. What's the
Oh
word?
yeah.
When you
I don't
when
know.
you're just a really attentive thinker. Why is
All
this happening to
all
me?
knowing.
Not omniscient. That is weird.
um,
I knew you were gonna. I was gonna say that word, but then I was like, that's not the right word.
Damn.
thorough.
Anyways, no, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, we're
He does a
sleeping.
lot of introspective thought, and you can tell whenever he's speaking, like he's so eloquently spoken. Like he will think about a sentence
Oh yeah.
well before saying it, and you can tell that what's coming out of his mouth is because he's already listened to everything you've said very intently, and he's created a very carefully crafted response for that. And not a lot of people know that about Mike Tyson. You
He's
listen to Hot
very
Boxing with
well
Mike
versed.
Tyson. Yeah, he
Oh
is
yeah.
very well versed too. He's very intelligent, and
He's
I
a
mean,
businessman too, a good one. Like he's a smart man.
to talk about what you're talking about, that fear that comes over fighters and people in the ring, that's a primal instinct. That goes all the way back to our fight or flight. There were some of us that when our ancestors were cavemen, they would run towards the fucking bear and the mammoth and try to rip its throat out with their own teeth. And there were other motherfuckers that went and hid the bush and got pissed on and shit on by the animal as it went
So
by.
And they picked
there's
berries.
actually quite a misconception with that because those are the two. It's very simple, and there's a ring to it to say fight or flight, but there's a third response that is deeply ingrained into most people, and that's I want to say I don't have the actual statistic in front of me, so I won't give one, but I would say 40% of people, majority of them, are gonna fall into like more than fight or flight. Most people are gonna freeze.
Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah,
I've,
that's
there's
a
I've
good
already
point.
been
Yeah.
put in that situation, and I know for a fact that 99% of the time I go for fight, but there has been times when flight has kicked in immediately. Like I've seen bears in the woods, and when I've seen the bears came face to face within 30 meters of a fucking bear, never once has my body been like fight. Not once
yeah.
of the
Let me
time.
go
My
shake
body
his
has
hand.
always been like run immediately. I've only ever had the freeze response that I can really think of one time in my life, and it wasn't because I was in a situation where me personally was at a fight or flight. I saw this guy. I was in high school. Me and my friend Sebastian. We were walking around the hallways and we were eating. I used to skip my second period, and he would. I would meet up with him during his lunch, and he would skip his third period, and we would like basically take half of each of our classes and spend like an hour of each day together, just walking around the hallways talking and stuff. Cause you know he's one of my best friends ever. Rest in peace, love to death. But we were walking around the hallway eating our milkshakes that we got from the lunch ladies because they would give us free lunch. And that lady was so nice. She would just always give me and Sebastian a free milkshake. Walking around the hallways, and I heard a bunch of like sneakers like scuffling, like somebody was playing basketball and somebody just got their ankles
Yeah.
broke. Walk around the corner, and I just see these two dudes throwing the worst fucking haymakers I've ever seen in my life, missing each other completely. This one dude literally fell flat on his face after missing a haymaker. And as he was getting up, the other guy got around behind him, picked him up, and hip tossed him over his back
Yes, broke his neck.
directly onto his fucking head, and he instantly started seizing out and moaning. He was literally
Oh,
just
that's
laying on his
fucked.
back, and it was like fucking drool was pouring out of his mouth, and his eyes rolled in the back of his head. And that was the only moment where I froze. I didn't know whether to walk away from the situation or like beat that guy's ass because he probably just killed someone
Right?
right in front of me. I just sat there and looked at it, and then we had a police officer at our school. The police officer came upstairs and arrested that other kid immediately, and they took the other kid to the hospital. And then I was literally just frozen at the side of the hallway watching this the whole time. And then before I had even realized they had all cleared out, Sebastian was like, "Hey, we should probably go," because he was also kind of like, "What the fuck did we just see?" And I just walked straight to the bathroom and fucking vomited. That kid, He actually ended up being okay, but one of his eyes is like fucking sideways for the rest of his life. Like his
Damn,
eye
bro.
doesn't look the right way anymore. It like
Damn.
mounts its
Um,
eye like in an improper way. But I could definitely see a lot of people being in the freeze category for sure.
I have an
Freeze, I think,
example of.
is.
Yeah,
Go
go
ahead,
ahead,
Greg.
go ahead. Oh, okay, okay. Uh, Speaking on the freeze thing is like I these aren't between like fight or flight, right? Like this is just moments that I've like frozen, but like I've definitely been in the freeze category. Like the one time I saw this kid, this was a long, long time ago, but he took a bong toke and we were all just chilling and shit. And this kid rips this toke and immediately blacks the fuck
Passes out.
out and hits his
Alex?
head so no. This was out in uh
Oh,
yeah, you
this
don't even know
happens to
these kids
multiple
actually. Yeah, apparently. And
people.
this kid hit his head so hard, like on the edge of the bar, bro. I thought he was dead. And like I didn't know what to do. And everyone was freaking out, like the two guys I was with, and they were like, yo, like, what the fuck? What do we do? Like call an ambulance, call an ambulance. And as we're like dialing 911, this kid literally wakes up and he's like, what happened? And
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like I
So
thought this kid
that
was dead. Because he started seizing up too after he'd hit the ground, bro. He was fucking twitching and like dying.
yeah, that I have an experience like that. Not so much freezing, but this kid was at my house and he took a bong toke and just immediately lost consciousness and like his head fell on the bong and he like let go of the bong with his hands. So like he had it on his lap, so it just created a triangle so the bong didn't fall over and he just started drooling. And like 5 seconds went by after everybody was like, well, I guess we did freeze at that point because nobody moved. And then he just woke up like, oh yeah, sorry. That sometimes happens. I didn't think it would happen this time, but that sometimes happens.
That sounded like what
And
happened to me when I used to do salvia. You know what salvia is?
Yeah,
yes,
God, I
this
used
I've
to
guy
do
never
also
done it,
played
salvia.
but
football, and that's
Oh,
something I just wanted to mention about it. He played football since he was like 6 years old, nonstop every
horrifying,
summer.
bro. That's what he's probably got fucking TBI or not TBI, excuse me. What
CTE,
TBD. No.
no,
CTE,
what
like
is
the
it
brain
called?
damage.
Bro,
Yeah,
what no,
from
what the fuck is it
concussion.
called? What is it? Help me out here.
I
What's
don't
it
know. I
called?
know CTE is what a lot of football
CT,
players
thank
get.
you.
Yeah, that's what I said. Fucking 4 times.
You said TBD, I thought. I couldn't
What?
understand you properly.
To be
You said
determined.
no, you literally
I
said
said that.
TBD, the brain damage.
Griffin said CBD. Oh my god,
Uh,
I said CTE like fucking
I
5
couldn't
times.
hear you. Griffin was I guess a little louder than you.
Overpowering.
No, it's cool, but yeah, CTE is
Yeah.
what like professional football players get, and they die from it because their brain doesn't function.
What about Randy Orton? Or not Randy Orton.
Oh
God,
yeah,
Chris
the
Benoit.
RKO.
Randy
where
Orton.
he
They all the
starts.
same.
It's an actual process of like your brain is sitting in that brain case jelly and moves back and forth, and when it actually recovers from any trauma, it has a specific protein that blocks neural pathways. Well, it doesn't block it fully; it like sheds them. So you could be. It just it Yeah, it clogs up your brain basically to a point where the neural connections cannot complete, but they do complete, but in the wrong place.
Speaking of
So there's
soggy
a
there's a what?
fella, perfect case of it, where they talk about the behavioral changes when the frontal lobe is compromised. One sec, I'll look up his name.
Chris
In a
Benoit has
mining
CTE and killed his whole family.
yes, that's
He's Canadian.
Makes sense.
He might not be Canadian. Maybe I'm lying.
You do that a lot. You literally just say someone's Canadian, and then I have to fact check you because that one
Okay,
really
most
got
of the
me.
time I'm right. What was it?
It was
Oh,
fucking
he was
Jackie
okay. Listen,
Robinson.
Chris Benoit was born in fucking Montreal. See, boom, come on.
Montreal's not in Canada.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't. It's not. We can
okay.
say that they're a different entity.
So Phineas Gage, he was a guy back in the 1800s. He died in 1860, but basically he was a construction foreman, and he was constructing an outdoor, like basically an entrance to a mine, when a explosion caused a bar to go through his head, and it entered in under his cheek,
I know
went through his
exactly what
eye.
you're talking about. I knew exactly what you're talking about now.
And this guy went from being a family man, a real nice guy, like personable, to basically being completely ruled by his emotions in such a way that if you bumped into him and that caused him to be like agitated, he would just flip the fuck out on you, out on
That's
you, and
wild.
yeah, or like his in sense of like a depression, his sadness would be like the darkest depression anybody like not the darkest depression anyone's ever experienced, but it was like yeah, he was ruled by his emotions and completely changed the way he was. But yeah, I thought that
Yeah.
was really interesting that even back in the 1800s, we kind of knew that the front of the brain in particular is where that fogginess, like the personality comes from. But back to
Yeah.
CTE, is it?
Yeah. CTE. I don't know what it stands for, but yeah, CTE.
I
In
used to
that move,
I used to know. One second, my brain. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
okay,
Encephalopathy?
Sure.
encephalopathy. How do you spell that?
God.
ENCEPHALOPATHY.
So, have you seen those videos of the guy who will break down like, oh, the kid who ate 50 or ate vitamin gummies
God,
every
yes,
day
that
for
guy.
breakfast?
You know those stories are fucking bullshit, man.
They are bullshit, but I do like the way he breaks down the medical terms.
I
As in,
hate his fucking gap in his teeth because I used to have a gap in my teeth, and when I see that motherfucker, I'm like, damn, I used to be ugly as shit. I hated that gap. You know what? Let me talk about that for a second. I had a gap all the
I
way
did not
until
know
high
this.
school. Yeah, no one knows because I don't talk about it, but I was bullied. This is really convenient how this works. I
I
was
don't talk
bullied
about it.
all the way until high school. 10th grade, or it was, yeah, 10th grade is when I got my gap fixed. So I was bullied. No fucking lie, from Head Start all the way to 10th grade, I was fucking severely bullied. I got my gap fixed, and I came back to school, and people literally pretended that they'd never met me before. That's a real thing that happened. And I came back.
wow.
Here's a great example, and I hope he listens to this one day so he remembers he did this to me. But there was this guy named William who, in middle school,
Fuck
for
you,
no
William.
reason whatsoever, I came back to this school. I got kicked out of another school for fighting and all this other bullshit. So I had to come back to Severe. I came back to Severe, and for no reason at all, this guy told the entire school that I had fucking STDs and that I smoked crack. And every single person believed it. In the 8th grade, they thought I was smoking crack and fucking having STDs. That's not too unbelievable because I was smoking weed and already doing like starting to dive into psychedelics, but nobody knew that about me because I didn't have a single fucking friend. All they knew like was that I was poor and had bags under my eyes and a gap in my teeth. So that same motherfucker who told everybody that I had fucking STDs and I smoked crack and all this other shit ended up being like in the same friend group as me in 10th grade and pretended he didn't know who I was or that he had never done any of that stuff to me. And I talked to him about it one time when we were all chilling. He's like, "Nah, nah." He's like, Chill out, Eisenhower. I wouldn't do that. I'm nice." I was like, "No, motherfucker.
Oh my
You
god.
literally told an entire group of impressionable kids that I smoked crack and did STDs." And dude, I was so like
Smoked
outcasted in
crack and
8th
did
grade.
STDs.
Whatever. You know, fuck you. I was so outcasted in 8th grade that even the fucking weird kids wouldn't let me sit with them at lunch. So at lunch, I had to carry my tray in the hallway because I couldn't get a table. I had to sit in the hallway and eat my fucking lunch. That's a real thing that happened to me in 8th grade. I'll never forget that shit.
I'd sit with you, buddy.
In
No,
eighth
I know.
grade, I went to a boarding school, but I don't want to speak about that. That actually reminded me of a different time when I went to live in a bigger city, called Barrie. It's
You lived
about
in
4 hours.
Barrie?
I did for about one semester, but
I don't know anything about my friends. Damn.
I was pretty heavily bullied out of that school, so much so that my mom like pulled me out and had me move back to Chatham. But it was basically because like I transferred mid semester, and the school that I was coming from did this weird thing where they split the English and the math into like the same period. So like you would do 35 minutes of English, and then you would pick up your books and go to the math class and do 35 minutes of math. And then you would go back to English and
Uh,
then go back
so
to
you were
math.
like half a semester behind everybody.
Yes, because
Yeah.
that transfer couldn't happen. So one, I was half a semester behind. Two, I'm pretty dyslexic, and at that time I was also pretty low confidence, and this was one of those schools I was just like, oh yeah, your turn to read out loud, that sort of thing. And because of that, it was like the first week or something like that, and I remember I thought I made some friends, like 3 friends in particular. Like they invited me to come sit at lunch, and they were like being kind of cool with me or whatnot. And then they asked me about, so why can't you read? I was just like, well, like I'm dyslexic. I'm not a very good reader. It's like, yeah, man, you sounded like Forrest Gump. It's like, yeah, you
Damn.
kind of look like Forrest Gump too.
Damn.
And well, and also it just so happened that I got pointed out in the gym class for being a good runner and for running. You've seen how I run, Greg. I have a particular. I look like a
Yes.
weirdo. Yes, you
Kind
can
of.
tell.
You run like
It's
a
me.
gazelle.
Yes.
Yes.
Slightly.
No, that's the best running form. I don't care if anybody makes fun of it. That shit works. I used to run track.
Right?
That
And
shit fucking
anyway,
Oh
works.
yeah, no, I can't run worth shit, and I can't run like that.
so my nickname was Forrest Gump at that school, and I got sandwiches thrown at my head and shit like that because I got pretty pissed off the one day that I was being called Forrest Gump, and I kind of like I didn't flip out or anything like that. I just kind of like silently got up with my tray and like walked out, and they were like, "Oh, he's mad. Forrest is mad."
Dude, I had severe fucking anger problems, so like I would always just fucking punch someone in their fucking mouth. Like I wouldn't even think about it. I wouldn't do any kind of. And I had to go to therapy for that for a long time, but when I would get bullied and shit, it would just immediately every single time lead to me making a horrible mistake. Like this fucking Jose, if Ramirez, if you ever listen to this shit, I'm so sorry. I fucking destroyed this kid's orbital in his nose, and like to this day he looks
Oh.
fucked up.
Well,
He wasn't
sorry,
even really
Jose.
fucking with me that bad either. I just have bad fucking anger problems. Like just from being bullied so much, like the smallest thing would set me off. But back to what you were saying about the Forrest Gump thing. As soon as they asked you why can't you read that good, you should have been like, well, honestly, dude, my fucking cock is just so big, all the blood goes
All
down
the
to it,
blood.
That's what I should have said. Yes, and if I
in
had more,
retrospect.
if I had more points invested in charisma, I definitely could have played that off and made
More
a lot of
points
friends that
invested.
way. Right? Like, because if I'm good at running, bad at reading, I should be able to, like, I don't know, be a jock? Question mark. And that just didn't end up happening. And so it got to a point where, like, the kids were asking me for like shit that I had. Like, I forget what. Oh yeah, I had an iPad for my like learning disability thing where I would talk to the iPad and
Yeah.
type for me. And that didn't last too long because it ended up cracking while I was up there, and it was mostly due because I was like partially being mugged for it. Like guys wanted to use it.
Let me see
Well,
your iPad, pussy. I want to go to the bathroom and beat my dick.
well,
Right.
it was on the bus where they were just like using it and shit, and they wouldn't give it back. And it
Oh,
was
they
like,
were beating their dick on the bus.
Damn,
I
savage. I've been there.
don't even know what they're doing. And it was like kind of one of those situations where like, yeah, I'm a 6 foot guy in grade 8, but these guys are all 4'6", but they carry knives that they sharpen in shop class. So I'm not.
See, that shit wouldn't happen in America. Every fucking school I've ever been in has had metal detectors and shit.
And
I
that's the
actually got
little bit of
expelled for having a knife in my backpack, and I didn't even know it was in there. And what happened was, I was on the bus, and I was like, "Oh, dang! I accidentally brought my knife from home." And this little girl told the teacher I tried to stab her.
oh
Oh.
my
Yeah, so I got expelled. I'll never forget that bitch. I hope she's like having a rough time right now.
that's crazy.
I hope she scraped her knee yesterday.
I hope she got caught with a knife
Yeah, I hope
In
she got
somewhere.
Canada,
caught with
we
a
don't
knife.
really have like the school shooting thing. We don't have kids running around with guns, so it's not so much of a like at certain schools like McGregor. I'm pretty sure they had a cop posted, but at the Pines or
Everybody
CK,
has knives. Everybody has knives around here. I swear, it's like the biggest
Like
fucking thing
England.
ever. Yeah, pretty much.
yeah,
Like
like
honestly, everybody that I ever fucking run into has a fucking knife, man. I
It's
swear to God.
when you take away one form of harming people slash protecting yourself, people will always find another way to harm people slash protect themselves. I think
Yeah,
it's just you could take away guns, you could take away knives, and people will pick up sticks and rocks.
I carry a
so.
lighter always to pack
Well,
my
I don't know
fist just
how.
in case.
Oh, okay, I was about to say I don't know how. Like, hold still, I'll just
Hey,
jacket on fire.
give me a second. Hey, buddy, let me get some of this fucking
Come on, man.
let me get some of this hay over here and try to start a
Yeah, yeah,
fire
yeah,
under your
yeah.
feet.
Just wait a second. I'm gonna make this Molotov cocktail real quick. You're fucked, buddy. You're fucked.
you study Brazilian jiu-jitsu and you use a lighter as your main.
Oh,
Right.
so you just get them in
So-
an armbar and then you just start setting their fingers on fire.
Yes,
Oh my-
exactly. That's the goal. And you don't even. Somebody's coming up to you. You just sit down on the ground in like ready stance with your lighter in the one hand.
Right. You start like
Come on,
flicking
come
it here and there.
Start scooting towards them like a dog scratching its
They're-
ass. Come on, man.
They
yeah,
look at you.
exactly.
They're like, yo, I don't even think that has fluid in it. You're fucking bluffing.
That's another weird profession to think about. There were people that made an entire living off filling their mouth full of alcohol and blowing it at open source.
Well, they still do.
flames. I know, and like swallowing swords thing
Oh,
is
that
where I
thing's
get
wild.
really uncomfortable because they are
you
literally
move.
opening their fucking throat and putting that shit down there.
Yeah.
That
There's
disgusts
nothing
me a little
fake
bit.
about it. I think
It's
carnies
like-
are much more impressive than magicians because carnies.
Oh
do
yeah,
fucked up
absolutely.
shit.
Well, they're doing like superhuman things almost. Like magicians are all fake, right? For the most part,
Mhm.
like
Excuse
there's some
me.
reality to it. No, wait.
I'm kidding.
Wait, hold on.
Santa's real. Santa's real.
Can we talk about something with magicians? Who do you
So
think would win in a magic fight, David Blaine or Chris Angel?
Definitely David Blaine.
who's theater?
Um,
Because I
so
think that's the,
Dumbledore's.
all right. David Blaine, because he has 3 brothers that help him do his act.
Oh my god, I didn't know that, and now I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah, David Blaine is multiple people.
Dude, there's only a few things I never understood with David Blaine's whole trickery, bobickery. Like
Some of
fucking-
it's wild.
the penny through the glass thing. I never got. That's the one that I really would like to know how
Oh.
they did.
There's a lot of questions that I have about
Most of the stuff he does
some
is just like
acts.
he knows certain parts of the human body. That's all like scientific shit. Like the thing where he puts
Yeah,
the
where he
ice pick
sticks
through his
it.
muscle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just
Mm.
he's missing his nerves on purpose, right?
So
and
as
all the
much
blood
as
and
we
shit.
just said like magicians are fake. There's something to be said about tricking someone so much so that they think it's magic. That in itself is a talent, I would say.
Oh yeah,
Have you
like
seen the
sleight of
guy with
hand
the
and
cigarette?
everything. Yes,
Yes.
where they just eat the cigarette
No,
and
the
he
guy
spits it back out.
he was on
and
fucking Penn and Teller. You know what I'm talking about, Griffin. He has a cigarette and he
He pulls it
can't.
out of everywhere.
Hold on.
Or no,
I'll-
he can't light it. He can't light it. Yeah.
yeah, he can't light it.
Oh, I did. Yeah. I know what
It's
you're
like
talking about.
no matter which way he turns the cigarette, the butt is always
Yeah,
facing
that's
outwards.
wild. Like that's
Which-
got to be some quick sleight of hand. Like
It is a sleight
you
of hand.
flip
I
it
know how
quick
he
enough.
did it. So what it is the butt part of it is just like a piece of tape that moves up and down the cigarette.
Yeah.
Oh,
But the way he
that's
does
genius.
it, dude, is incredible. Like
He's
you,
got to like blow it to probably move it real quick.
you
and
just
it
wouldn't
stops
even
on your side.
understand because there's at some points he literally moves his hands away from his face and then it just I don't understand it.
That's what I'm
It
saying. He
flips.
like must like blow it.
It almost
like,
seems like
moves it.
it skips a frame. Like it seems like the video glitches and then it's the other way. Like he freezes time, flips it. I know it.
Yeah, I'm
partly
sure there's
talks
some kind of
to-
explanation out there. if
where
we
he's
dug
like,
deep
"Oh, I
into it.
finally got it," and then it just boop, flips.
It
on him.
wasn't. I don't even think it was Penn and Teller. It might have been America's Got Balls or whatever it's
It was
called.
something like that. Yeah. You guys ever seen the guy
Right,
who
got-
swallows fucking bowling ball or not bowling balls, but pool balls? Like he swallows them fucking whole.
One
I'm
thing
gonna stream
touch
this
on.
to you guys while we watch this for a second, and then
Deal.
I need everyone to understand how crazy this is. Go ahead and tell me what you were saying, there, Griffin.
I'll have. Oh yeah, this guy.
Yeah, this guy. So I don't know what this is. Oh, it's called Golden Magic, whatever that is. But so I know that bottom piece. Okay, so that right there, like, how did he even do that? This guy just took 2 broken cigarettes and Mickey Moused them without Mickey Mousing them. Look, he goes to put it in his mouth.
So in case you guys are wondering what we're actually watching, it's Mario Lopez. Move the.
Oh
What's it
yeah,
called?
my bad. Mario Lopez Cigarette Magic. That's all it's called. Like,
yeah,
look,
if you want to look that on your own. Like
I
what?
just I don't
Yeah, go
understand
watch
how
it.
he's doing this. It's like it's so the amount of misdirection is incredible. So misdirection is like the most important
Yes.
thing in sleight of hand magic. because you want people to. I just don't get it. I don't get any of it, and he's not even getting to the crazy parts yet. It's just an entire routine
Like, yeah,
of
I
this
don't
cigarette and
understand
this
how people
lighter
do it.
appearing and disappearing and see. Okay, that's disgusting right there, though. Honestly,
Right?
I don't like. Oh God. Okay,
It's
see.
so wild, man.
For everyone wondering, he's
Uh,
got a cigarette going up his nose and out of his mouth, and when he moves it into his nose, it comes out of his mouth, and when he moves it back into his mouth, it comes out of his nose, and it's
so very well could be his tongue moving as he's moving the.
Yeah, it is for sure. But where's he
But
hiding the
then,
second
okay, but
cigarette?
that
right?
this guy's
So now that's
incredible.
just in his nose now.
Right? Where is the second cigarette now?
It's just
'Cause you know he's
incredible.
got
Before we
two.
spend the next 5 minutes watching this entire thing, if you haven't seen the video, go watch it. It's an incredible display of misdirection and fucking sleight of hand. It's really awesome.
Yeah,
So
we
have you
won't go
ever
too crazy
heard
into it.
of? This is kind of an off-topic thought change, although it was kind of speaking to what we were saying before. Um, it is the Robbers Cave experiment from, I believe, 1955 or 1954, one of the two.
Never heard of it.
Okay, well, it's a pretty interesting experiment. It's basically attributed as the real-life Lord of the Flies, and it was meant to simulate basically like the reason why settlers
Settlers.
did what they did, and it's I highly suggest you look into it. But basically, these two groups of kids that didn't really know each other were put into a
An airdrop.
camp. Well, basically, they were put into a summer camp scenario where one camp of like 10 people or 10 kids stayed in like a cabin, and they had no idea that there was another group of 10 kids on the other side of the camp. And they would like for the first week just like become friends, camaraderie, all that fun stuff, go canoeing, build tents, that sort of thing. And then next week, the camp counselors that were actually the people doing the experiment um, introduced them to one another in like vague ways. So, for example, they both used a baseball diamond, and for the first little bit, the I believe the one group used a separate diamond, and then they moved it to this more modern diamond
Ah,
that they were basically called the Eagles, and forget what the other one was. One sec, I'll look it up real quick. But this thought experiment was basically 22 boys were pitted against each other in different things like tug of war and
in
all
Gladiator
that.
Death.
Well,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
I'm reading about it right now.
and a bunch of other stuff. And basically, just by the sheer act of putting them on separate teams, created animosity between the two sides. And it was sort of interesting because it was doctored in a way to incite conflict. Like,
Yeah.
for example, I'm pretty sure the last competition between the two teams was a treasure hunt between the two of them, and one completed it in
Oh,
eight
that'll
minutes, and
definitely get you pissed off.
yeah, so after they won, the one team was like super happy and whatnot, but the other team was still pissed off and went even further to like break into the other kid's cabin and like sabotage it and like steal
Oh,
their
take the
flag.
treasure. Yes.
Yeah, basically all their medals and the knives that they bought, they stole, and the camp counselors basically let this escalate and it's basically bringing two hostile groups together to see what kind of prejudices are made up, like just by human nature, what
Yeah.
yeah. And
Prejudice.
anyway, after the competition was done and over with, the kids individually were allowed to basically intermingle with one another. They were allowed to have free time and whatnot. And what the
And then they
counselors
started to like each other
noticed,
or what?
the kids would like each other when they're by themselves, when it's just Billy and Timmy hanging out fishing. They were great
Yeah.
friends and whatnot. But once they got back into the competition scenarios, there was great animosity to a point where I'm pretty sure a fight broke out at one of the events, and one of the kids was like brutally beaten by some of the counselors exhibited as being his like best friend on a different day.
Mm, that makes me want to beat up Greg.
You
Does
want
it?
to? I'd let you.
No, but
So along with that experiment, what I was actually getting to with that is, would you say that the not automatic, but um, not would you say someone's intentions are much different in a group rather than alone? And I know
Absolutely. You're always trying
that's
to impress
absolutely
people
true.
too.
I
I
agree.
wouldn't say for
I was
everyone.
gonna say you
Not
personally is
everybody
what I wanted
necessarily.
to
Yeah,
say.
I
Oh,
definitely not, because more often than not in my life, not by any sort of design or choice, I've gone against the grain. But
So,
I
and I know you, so that's why I even asked it, and I wanted to bring that up. Do you think it's because we were bullied? Sorry to interrupt. You can finish what you were saying.
oh no, you're not interrupting. And I don't think I just think like I didn't have like the great support system, right? You know, like I had my mom and I had my little brothers, or my little brother Connor, but all that I really my mom worked 2 jobs and went to school full time. My dad never was there. When he was there, he was extremely uh volatile. I mean, he's very drunk all the time, and so whenever he did show up, it could have been anything. So I didn't have any kind of support system at home. So I spent the majority of my time creating my own ideals, and anything I really based my ideology off of was stuff I had researched heavily. I'm not one of those people that'll just hear an idea and be like, "Oh, yeah, I agree
you're
with
not
that
gonna
immediately." Like,
bandwag some
yeah,
bandwagon.
that's why
Bandwagon.
and that's why I bring up the point this podcast a lot. Anything we say on here, fucking take with a grain of salt and do your own research. I think doing your own
It's
research
all
is the most
opinions,
important thing.
baby.
Forming your opinion on someone else's opinion is not the proper way to do any sort of cognitive gain. You're not going to gain anything from that. No amount of information is going to be downloaded to you because you heard an opinion of someone else and you're like, "Oh, that's my opinion now." You didn't learn
Yeah,
anything. You're
unless it's
just
like someone you
repeating.
like study under and like are
Well,
like,
no,
Gotta
even then.
that's
No,
way.
even
But
then,
that's
you should
still
never
that's
take.
their opinion that you're basing your opinion off of.
You
So
have to critically think about everything you
Yes.
read and you hear, and critically think meaning like find the root of what topic you're thinking about,
yeah,
and
absolutely. Try
basically
to dig deeper into
start
it.
from the bottom and see how that topic was built up in the first place.
Yeah,
And
critical
once you understand,
thinking.
yeah,
It's the most important part of growth. If you don't critically think about something at all, ever, you're gonna be a mindless fucking drone who goes through life doing what other people tell you to do. And
Yeah,
I
and it's
think
dying right
facts
now.
are
Critical
a
thinking.
big point of
dude, yeah,
things.
critical thinking is dying. There's this fucking mob movement where whatever social media tells you is correct is what most people are believing, and that is
Oh,
not the
dude,
fucking truth,
and you
ladies
can
and
search
gentlemen.
something
You
up.
need to do your
You,
own fucking research.
yeah, it's wild. It's like the people who search up WebMD and they think they're dying because they
Well,
their
that's
piss is
more
yellow.
so hypochondria.
Yeah, I guess, but yeah, but
Greg, you're a
they don't
hypochondriac.
a little bit, yeah, depending on the situation, but yeah, slightly. And then I
Greg,
would
we
say
were
that's why I go to my doctor to find like the facts of everything, right? I'm not going to sit there and search it
That's
up.
different. So a professional opinion is entirely different than an opinion. So, but even still, you should do your own research. Like if you have someone who's been to school for many, many years and has facts and numbers and actual levels of like blood
Yeah.
levels and things they can show you to back up their claims, then you don't necessarily really have to do much research because they went to school and did that research for years.
Well,
But on the other
that's what
side of
yeah.
that, you can't say the same for politics. You can't say the same for anything that's opinion based or that is morality based. Just because my morals
Yeah.
are one way and I've done a lot of research and there's a lot of people who back them up doesn't mean they're correct. That's a very important thing, people, because I bring this up a lot. There's 8 billion people on this fucking planet. You can look up anything you want in the world and somebody on the internet will agree with you. That doesn't mean you're right. Just because somebody else can back up your statement and claim
I,
doesn't mean you're right.
so I think there's
And
a lot of reason behind finding two sides to every story on what if you were to like bandwagon to one way, because people will do that all the time. They'll be like, oh well, I like this person because this is how they feel, right? And then they have no idea about the other side of whatever. And until you've seen like both sides of it, you really can't like base an opinion unless you're just trying to follow one side, you know?
Yeah.
Can you
If
think
that
of
makes
any
sense.
scenarios where you were attributed to that, where you had some insider knowledge that you knew what was going on, but everybody else, say the wide consensus was that, say, I don't know, just an example, this person was bad, but because you know the actual things that happened, like the actual recourse and the reasoning behind it, you sort of understand sort of thing and you witness it happening. Does that make any sense to you guys?
No,
What I'm
there's
saying?
been a lot of times I've what is that called in movies when like the third party, the viewer is supposed to know what's happening, but the other people who are in the movie
Oh,
don't know what's happening.
Yeah, it's a perspective, but I forget what perspective. Oh no.
it's one of those perspectives.
One of them perspectives, you know? It's a bird's eye? Not bird's eye. Sorry. That's
I
an
guess
actual
dramatic
viewpoint.
irony. That's
Yeah,
it.
but
It's dramatic irony. But yeah. So there's definitely been times in my life where I've had some sort of information that'll give me the actual facts, but because there's a mob mentality or a group of people that all are supporting each other's ideals, no matter if I introduce the truth or introduce the actual what happened, it doesn't matter because there's already too many people who believe the false story. That's a fucking common problem in today's society. One of my favorite
absolutely.
ones that I've seen recently, which isn't just necessarily me that has this information, but it's this fucking tweet. It gets under my skin every time I fucking see it. Somebody commented on Elon Musk's thing. Not that I'm fucking obsessed with Elon Musk, but this is just blatant wrong math. And I hate when people do incorrect math and other people just take it. So someone commented on Elon Musk's thing and said, Elon Musk has X amount of dollars. I think at the time when the tweet came out, he was in the 300-400 billions,
Yeah.
and they were like, by that math, he could give every single
Oh
person on
my
the world
God.
$1 million, and he would still have left over 200
I'm
some
no.
billion dollars. And
Yeah.
that fucking math, dude, to this day
It's horrible. I saw
fucks
the
my
thing.
head because there were hundreds of thousands of people that liked that tweet and retweeted it. And then, without ever taking down the tweet or saying anything about his math being wrong, this guy just somewhere down in the thread was like, "Turns out my math was a little bit off, but still, he could be giving all of his money, and nobody needs that much money. Who gives a fuck how much money the motherfucker has? He worked for it. I don't give a
Yeah, and
fuck.
it's not like yeah, there's so many people out there who actually don't do things like for their community or whatever, like for charities or whatever, but like a lot of people do and they still give some kind of money back to charities or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
The big difference there is that guy
So who
who
cares?
called out that Elon could have given all those people money. The difference being Elon doesn't have a giant company that gives you everything right to your door like Jeff does. Something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's been billionaires before, but it just seems like because Elon is a target right now is
Oh,
Yeah.
why
he's a
that
huge
in
target
particular time.
because basically, if
That's kind
you
of off topic though. I'm sorry, that
Yeah,
wasn't the whole
we're
point of
gonna
what you
get
were saying.
to a point of no return with politics here, so there's no point even fucking reaching down that rabbit hole. But if you get demonized by a particular group, I'm not gonna say which way they lean or which direction they go. If you get demonized by a particular group, it doesn't matter what the fuck you do, you're fucked. You're just gonna get demonized by a large majority of fucking sheeple who don't do any sort of critical thinking, and they just take what they see on social media and they're like, that's gotta be true. It's got to be true that Elon Musk could get everyone in the world $1 million. This guy on Twitter said it, and like over 100,000 people favorited his tweet. Did you see that? This guy is evil, dude. No, it's just that's one of my biggest pet peeves in the world when people won't like do any sort of thought for themselves. You don't do any. You don't like. How do you survive? How do you live if you don't form your own opinions and do your own research? Like, how could
Well,
you
you're
go
the
through life
sheep,
being
bud.
like
You're
that?
the sheep.
That's what I'm saying. I guess ignorance is bliss. You get to a point where you don't really care about anything but going through the motions and sitting on your escalator until you fucking fall in your coffin. But I just can't.
Wake up, sheeple! Wake up!
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well,
fellas,
boys,
this has gone well. I have another great podcast to listen to. Thank you.
Absolutely. I always
Yeah, how
enjoy
long has
talking
this
to
been
you
going?
fellas. This one's about an hour. They're usually about an hour long.
I don't know how to check the time, so
I think that's a
I don't think I
solid
can.
stopping point. Tell everyone to wake up, do your own research. If you don't fucking exercise your brain just like a well-oiled machine, it will shut down and cease to function. So you should probably exercise
Right.
it from time to time.
Exercise your brain and your muscles
Exercise your
Along
and
brain,
those
exercise.
lines,
everything.
if there's anything you want us to look into that you think would be interesting for us to talk about, reach out to any one of us and let us know, and we can look into talking about it on the next podcast.
Yeah, so a great point to put there. If you the best way to reach out to us is either you can visit us through my website koseiteki.com, KOSEITEKI.com. There's a contact us page there where you can email us or directly message us and we respond pretty much 24 hours a day. Or you guys can just go visit us on YouTube at Logan Eisenhower, and we do all of our podcast posts there as well, and you guys can just comment and tell us any topics you'd be interested in hearing, because we kind of just get on here and ramble for now, but eventually we're gonna have some sort
Yeah.
of structure to this. But
It's easier with outside. I'm not gonna say direction, but like outside opinions and
Well, and it's good
whatnot.
I just
to
want to
know what you
include my
guys want to hear
family.
as well.
Yeah, I just want to include my
Yes.
family. Everyone listens to this is my family, and all my Kosei Techie family and Not So Lucky Cats Club family. You guys are all like pretty much going to be one conglomerate at some point. I'm hoping eventually that we can create some sort of true positive impact on the world. I know in my immediate life I try to create some sort of positive change and recourse. So hopefully that can be widespread. But to end it, love you boys. Thanks for coming on the podcast. Everyone, fucking exercise your brain, your muscles.
Exercise it all.
Exercise it. Peace. Oh wait,
Peace.
almost forgot it.
Exercise your demons.
Don't choke.
Don't forget, don't choke on your daily dose of 2 pieces of toast. Peace. Fuck, 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 fuck,
Fuck,
fuck,
fuck.
fuck, 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 fuck,
That reminds me of
fuck.
Robot.